Welcome to our community. Susie Thomas here with you this morning. We are visiting with Cindy Bishop and a friend, Kristen. They're from Hope House. Good morning to both of you.
Good morning.
Cindy, you've been here before. For anybody who'd missed that, tell us a little bit about Hope House, how that all began.
Okay. It's actually called Hope House for Women of Stark County. And the way it started was I was a women's minister at Maslin Nazarene Church. And I started working with one of the ladies there that was 3 years sober from heroin. And her and I, we got pretty close, and she started taking me around Canton and showing me some of the spots where the ladies hung out that prostituted and did drugs, things like that. And God started to speak to me about helping these women. And you know, of course, it was scary because I'm not used to anything like that before, but I prayed about it, and I had some of my, I had my mentor praying, my husband, about where God wanted us to go with that. It wasn't too long that I felt that I needed to move to Canton and find a place where I could provide maybe Bible study or just a place for them to come and get hygiene products and, you know, maybe have soup or sandwich, something like that, so that I could really get to know them and they got to know me and knew that, you know, it was a safe place for them to come. And that was in 2011. So it's already been quite a while. Time flies.
6 years.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
And that's how that started. But right after we opened that very first house that we bought, one of the men at my mom's church actually gave us a house. And that house was to be used to house the women that we had coming there that we were helping outside of church or anything else. And so when we opened in August of 2011, by September of 2011, we had 8 women off the streets living in this house that the man had provided for us.
You know what I love is that you talked about women who prostituted rather than prostitutes.
Right.
One's a verb, a person doing something. The other is a noun with a label, that is who they are. And you're seeing them, these women, as women.
Yes.
Talk about that a little bit. What's the difference there?
Well, there's a big difference. Number one, that was a past lifestyle that, you know, I believe that God transforms us. And there's one particular woman that comes to mind that had been prostituting for 27 years. She had actually, at 11, was human trafficked. Mm-hmm. And God got her out of that. But it was, you know, she had already been into drugs and stuff. So she went through a 27-year prostitution and drug addiction. And once she was pulled from that and she came to live with us for a little over a year, she relapsed a couple times during that. But she stayed, you know, she fought through it, and she grew in her relationship with God. And she since has a job, and she hasn't relapsed. She hasn't done prostitution. She's got a new life.
It's got to be amazing for you to see a person see themselves differently, see themselves almost through new eyes. What kind of transformations do you get to see like that?
Many. I mean, even the ladies that come and we give them that seed about Jesus and what he can do in their lives, they take that with them. But the ones that really let it flourish and really, you know, let God change them, their whole appearance is completely different. They hold themselves different. They have respect for themselves. Their families have more respect for them. They get their children back or their grandchildren, whatever it might be. And, you know, it's not just for them. It's for their whole family.
Yeah.
And God works through them then for their family.
Yeah. It's got to be an amazing thing just to be able to see this is who somebody was supposed to be, meant to be, not the other. And when you're talking about 27 years, that's a long habit to break.
Yeah, that's the thing right there, is it's not just the addiction to drugs. Once you're into prostitution, that's a whole lifestyle. You know, it's completely different from what you would think that God would have planned for these ladies, but they're freed from that.
Yes.
You know,
when it's somebody's income,
yeah,
being prepared to make a living doing something else, is there help for these women to find another way to have income?
There's very little. That lady that I was speaking about, she came to me and she said, how am I supposed to make money any other way? And I said, there's always a way. I said, listen, you have good customer service. I said, use those things to your advantage. When you go in
The
to an
people
interview,
skills.
and you know what? She got a job.
Yes.
You know?
I don't mean to laugh, but seriously, when you think of people skills and the things that you could put on a resume that would be marketable skills, just using them rather than for something that would really be wholesome and great and helpful to the community,
Right.
it's there, right?
And, you know, she did that, and they hired her, and she's done a great job there. She's
I
now
love
moved
it.
away, but she still works. It's a chain, so she still works at that place plus another job. And she's doing good, you know.
So cool. Before we move on, I want to talk to you, Kristen, and get your story. Thank you so much for being here. I love your tattoos, Cindy. Tell us what's on your arm and why.
I have Princess on my right arm and Warrior on my left arm. And what these are for is I tell the ladies that we're God's daughters, so we're princesses. And we need to remember that at all times, that we're valued. And Warrior is for going through daily life without, you know, with addiction, but being able to overcome it. And that's a fighting thing. You have to be a warrior. I mean, these women have been through hell and back.
Yeah.
But they're able to do it, you know, because they have God and they have support. So it's very important for me to show them that, not only that, there's a lot of them that had tattoos and they, you know, they just feel like people look at me funny, you know, but when I have them too, it helps them to feel calmer and more acceptable. 'Cause
Relatable.
I'm a minister and I have tattoos, you know.
Not a lot of ministers are as well tattooed as you
That's
are.
right.
You've got some awesome ones, I'm telling you.
you.
But Warrior Princess, Princess Warrior. Love it. Kristen, thanks for being here. Tell us a little bit about you, your story. How did you find Hope House?
Okay, well, God obviously played a huge part in it. The first time I'm 33 years old. The first time I got sober was at 18, and then it didn't become a problem again until my brother died. And, you know, I came from a great home. I came from a home where everything was handed to me. You know, it just shows you that addiction doesn't discriminate. It doesn't matter how you were brought up, how you were raised, if you had money, if you didn't have money.
Right.
So to make a long story short, I've been to treatments one after another, and, you know, I will do good for a while, and then I'll go around people again that, you know, are drinking or doing whatever. And I ran into somebody I went to high school with, one of the girls that was at the Hope House, and she told me about it. And at that point, I remember getting on my knees. I ended up getting on heroin, never thought in a million years. And I remember being on my knees after I got out of detox and just saying, God, like, please help me. Then I ran into this girl, came and met Cindy. She said, when do you want to come? I was like, right now. She's like, okay, you know, I didn't even pack up my house, just came. And
That was how long ago, Kristen?
that will be 2 years in March.
Wow. Wow.
Now,
So you're celebrating being 2 years sober now at this point?
unfortunately, after about a year, I had went back to an ex-boyfriend, and it's all about being around different people. And
That's interesting. Yeah. Now that's got to be hard because when you have we all have our people we're comfortable around, that we feel like that's our support system.
yeah,
How does a person come up with a whole new support system when you, at that point that you recognize that the one you're in, this group that feels like family, is not taking you to a good place?
well, you have to change everything. Fortunately, I come from a lot of support from my family, and I have
Yes.
friends too, but you have to stop hanging out with all those people that drank, did any type of anything.
Do you have to
surround
actually tell them, I can't be around you, or do you just
I guess given the
fall off
circumstance, if you're able to do it, but if it's too hard, you just stay
Stop.
away from them. But honestly, until I asked God to help me. Now, do I read my Bible every day? No, but I am trying to get closer to God each day, and sometimes I fall short. But
We all do, Kristen.
But at the end of the day, I can say from the bottom of my heart, like, I don't have that desire anymore.
Wow.
It has been lifted, and it's amazing. Because a lot of people, after heroin, they have to get on Suboxone, and I didn't want to get on something else that's a controlled substance, and God just lifted it for me.
Have you made some friendships at Hope House?
Oh, yeah.
Tell me about those.
So many. Well, there's one in particular. She came probably a month after I came, and she came from the street. She prostituted, and I had known nothing about that. When I thought of prostitution, I thought of like Pretty Woman. I thought like this glamorous lifestyle, not glamorous lifestyle, but something different than
It's glamorized in Hollywood.
Yeah.
You hit the nail on the head.
Yeah.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And so she came from the streets, and she was such a beautiful woman. She was probably like in her 40s, had children, and she and I were going to say the whole time, here she comes from this totally different life, and then here am I, but we just clicked, and I just loved her. She had a beautiful soul, and I just fell in love with her as a person. She was a great person. And we both got baptized. Cindy and Rick baptized us.
Right.
And I have goosebumps. And I don't know, maybe 2 months after her being there, she left and went back. Like, she was more comfortable living that other life. And we kept going out there and just letting her know, we loved her. And in the beginning, I was like really letting myself down because I wanted her to come so bad. And she would tell me, yeah, just to, tell me what I wanted to hear. And then finally I had to realize she has to do it on her own. So that's like the one that's, I think about her a lot.
Still hurts, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, her story's not over yet.
No, it isn't.
And she knows how much you love her. And you were baptized together?
Yeah.
There's a seed that's been planted right there.
Yeah.
So we can all be praying for her. Give us her first name.
Her name's Ina.
We want to get Ina. All right, everybody. Ina on your prayer list now, and then
That's
she doesn't
right.
stand a chance.
That's right. And she knows that she's loved because
Yes.
she is always, it might be a month, it might be 2 months, but then she contacts us, and we go see her and,
So there's something.
Yes.
Something that she knows she's hungry for
definitely.
and thirsty for, and she knows where she can go to get that. And she knows it'll
She
happen.
does.
It's just a matter of when.
Yes, I believe that.
Yeah, and the hopeful thing too is, Cindy, you've seen so many people, so many Inas who now are doing something completely different for a living, have found there is another way to
Yes.
support your kids, and that you can have more respect. And I'm just kind of throwing this out there. Is that what it is? Do people lose respect for themselves, or what do you see?
Yes, I definitely think it's that. They get to the place where they think they've done so many things wrong that there's no way to be saved from that. And we know that God can do that.
Absolutely.
Well, I feel like they say that God doesn't love them. They think
Yeah.
that.
Oh my, what a lie!
Yeah.
But
My
that's
gosh,
the devil,
Who did Jesus hang out with?
That's right.
Oh my gosh.
And that's what I tell them.
That's right. And regularly sitting down, having dinner, having lunch, really getting to know them, fellowshipping with them, and letting them know you're better than this, and I love you. I know the real you, and I love that person. We've got to take a break. We'll be back after these words. You're listening to Our Community.